From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
How y'all are? Cajun Rob here hanging out with you.
Do we have a treat for you tonight? One of the most loved but disliked, I'll call it techniques to catch bass on, is topwater. And for me, you've heard my stories about Gunnersville and losing fish on a frog, and the woulda, shoulda, coulda had 25 pounds, and but tonight I've got my pen and paper ready. I've also got this on record, so we're going to be able to go back and watch every second of this several times. My wife is probably not going to be happy with me sitting up and sitting in bed. Babe, you see what she said there? But no, we have a frog expert on, Linda Gessner. She's a LBAA veteran. She's an excellent frog fisherman, and people say when she has a sack, the frog bite was on.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, and I want to tell folks I got one of the little Roku sticks, and the Angler Outdoor, the TAOO app works really well on it. And I get to see our two favorite hosts quite a bit. But yeah, Roku's a pretty sweet deal, and Best Buy had it for half off, so just tell you. But yeah, frogging is a kind of love-hate thing. I'm like you, John. I've gotten burned at Chickamauga and had a bunch of blow-ups, nothing hooked. But I've caught my personal best on a frog at 8:11. So,
congrats!
Yeah, awesome. But
right.
Yeah, Linda's just super knowledgeable. I said she is a great angler, and I said she has her system and it works anywhere, everywhere. So I'm looking forward to picking her brain and definitely getting some education.
And you guys don't be afraid to ask questions and pick her brain as well. She's very knowledgeable and willing to teach. So let's bring Linda on now. Hello, Linda.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I have a tournament tomorrow, and
awesome.
Frog Raw will be out, but I went practicing a couple of days, and Precious was not in play. So you never know. Throw it in that one spot and you get your 8-pounder. You just don't know, She'll be out on the deck though. I always keep her out there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you answered my question. Is there ever a tournament you go into that you don't have Precious out?
If the water temperature is below 55 in the wintertime, no, I don't have her out. Or if I'm tournament fishing and I fish the best spots that I think I'm going to get fish, on a frog, and it doesn't happen, I have to put her in the box or sometimes cut it off the rod so I don't pick it out of the box and start over again. I have to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Oh, absolutely.
Kenny Rogers.
Believe me, though, there's a lot of times that I'll every once in a while I'll throw that frog, and for some reason somebody thinks it's a little snack and puts a fish in the boat. So
absolutely,
that's terrible.
Yeah, and it gets you better quality fish too, for sure.
Most of the time, yes.
Yeah. I think one of the things that in our conversations, one of the things that we've covered mostly is the rod. We see a lot of people using 30 to 50 pound braid, but they don't realize the rod is the most important part of the frog fishing. From what I get about it,
it's a combination, but yeah, you have to. I mean, not all frog rods are the same. I think you really have to match it. Just because I like a certain rod doesn't mean that my rod is going to work for somebody else. There's certain characteristics I want in a frog rod. I want a heavy rod. I don't want a medium heavy, but I want a heavy action rod, but I want it to be light. I don't want a broomstick. And I like it over 7 foot. 7 foot's fine. If it's 7.3, that's fine. I don't want an 8 foot rod. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want a 7-foot rod because it's too long. And I've had some guides that I fish with. When I twitch the rod, my probably 6 inches to 8 inches of the rod hit the water.
Yeah.
Just because there's a comfortable spot you have to find when you're fishing a frog. Otherwise you'll tire yourself out all day. But if you find that comfortable spot where you can just twitch that rod, mine falls in the water, so I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. The fish don't care if my rod tip is hitting the water. It's still moving the frog the way I want it to. But I have I'm 5'10", 5'11", and I have a 7-foot rod. So if somebody's like 5'5", a 6'10" rod would work. But because of the physics of things, the longer rod you have, the better fulcrum you'll have when you set that rod to get a better hookup. The hooks will do better. It's just physics. The longer the rod, the better the sweep, that kind of stuff. But yeah, a rod. I found one when I was sponsored by St. Croix, and I had a couple of them. One since is broke, but it's the 7 heavy power fast action rod. It's the what is it? The old Legend Extremes.
Yep.
And certain things I'll look for when I have a frog rod is when I hold the rod, I make sure that my hand is in front of the. I don't hold my rod like that. I hold it with my hand on my reel. And when my hand's on my reel, I better make sure that the rod has enough butt and the stock right here to go underneath my hand, So when I set that hook, when I bring it up, there's no way my rod is going to fall back down with a weak wrist because I have it underneath my hand. It's just it stops when you set that hook really hard, right? When you set it, I can't do it here because I'll hit my ceiling. But when you set that hook, your rod is now tucked behind your hand, and you can lift up and start reeling, and the rod will never bend forward. That tip, because it's a fast tip, it's already popped up, and if you start reeling, you got it. But it has to be a quick. And I have a it's not a YouTube video, but I do have instructions for new people when they're doing frogging. You get a blow up. You always say, wait that 1 second. Really what they're trying to tell you is wait for that fish to start pulling.
Yep.
And how I practiced when I was first doing this is I bend my knees, right? I'd bend my knees, and that gives me a little bit like 4 or 5 inches. And when I bend my knees, there's your 1 second. And then I'd snap that rod. You snap that rod across your body, left-handed or right-handed. You're going to snap it across your body and start reeling. And when you lift your knees up, you get more. You get more lift.
Yep.
And that helps set that hook. I don't do it anymore because with this rod, I've used it for 20 years. It's probably a 20-year rod. Yeah. But so I'm so used to it that I don't have to bend my knees anymore. But I know when to set the hook on this rod. Some of my other rods, they don't set as the same as this one, and you have to do a couple different things because of how that rod sets up. But every rod is different. The other thing that I like about a rod for a frog rod is I do like recoil guides. In this rod, I've never had a recoil guide break. And I've re-epoxied, some of the guides because they're just the epoxy wears out. But I've never had any problem with recoil guides and the braid. And there's only 2 size braids I use. 50-pound if I'm not in a whole bunch of vegetation, or 65-pound in vegetation. Because what I found is anything less than 50 pounds for me and this rod is I've broke 30 and 40-pound braid on fish. So I just stay away from it. I'd like to go lighter, because if you go lighter, you can throw farther. But the farther you throw, the less you're going to go ahead and get your hook set up. If the closer you are to yourself, the better the hook set up. So if you throw it too far away, there's a happy medium there. So far away, you're not gonna get them anyway, unless you're really, really lucky. Because even though braid doesn't stretch, it stretches because of how much distance there is. You know what I'm saying? It's real hard to snap that line and get it so it doesn't. What I have to do if I do have a long throw is I'm walking backwards on the boat, trying to at the same time reel, snap, and walk backwards to give me that extra, pop on that line. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Pam Horn.
Yeah,
Pam Horn says, the frog lady is live and in person. She loves your passion for fishing a frog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I can't tell you how many times when I did have both my rods in tournaments, I'd give my co-angler my other rod and explain to him what to do. I personally would have thrown something else, but they wanted to try and, get a frog fish. And so I'd loan the rod, I'd set it up for him, explain to him how to do it, and try and coach him through it. And I don't mind helping people do it. That's once you get hooked on a frog bite, it's real hard to stop.
Absolutely.
At least for me, it's pretty addictive. And if you can make it work, let's say you go out 3 times and you can get it to work half the time and you get 90% of your fish in, then it's good. But I've fished a frog for a long time. The first time was in Gunnersville on a scum frog, and I had spinning gear. I had a heavy spinning gear and just couldn't get I got 2 fish in the tournament and on that scum frog, and I was pretty happy with it. But then when I tried to catch fish at home, I would always lose them 10 foot from the boat. And it's because even a heavy spinning rod, you'll get lucky once in a while. But I could not get that hook set. And once I went to a bait casting rod, a heavy bait casting rod, the St. Croix, like I said, my hookup ratio was really good. Even when I just started, I'd say about 50-60%. And as I use this rod over the years, just because I can see the way that the fish are setting up on the frog, sometimes you have to set the hook just a little bit different if they're swiping at it rather than just pulling it straight down. I know what to do with this rod. So my hookup ratio, most cases when they touch it, I got them. Normally I don't miss too many. This last tournament, I got a little flustered with secret in the boat. It's not that I missed that many. I just wasn't getting the bites, and I was fishing something different. I wasn't fishing precious. And Secret told me basically she knows that I use precious, so she looked in her box and had a different color, which was fine. Colors really don't matter. It's really the bottom of the frog is usually white. And she was just scooping them up like no tomorrow. And I just got a little, I got it in my brain that my stuff wasn't working. Went around the whole lake, and Secret she just blew me out of the water. So the next day, I just got in my head that it wasn't going to work. So the next day, I knew there were fish where Secret really caught all her fish in less than 20 minutes. So I told myself I was going to stay there all day and expand on that area. And I proceeded to wax the fish.
Cool.
I went with precious, and then I also, one of my backups is a Spro. This is a baby popper.
Yep.
Love it. The regular, it's all the black and yellow. I usually stay with the black and yellow. But the baby popper is another one that they just annihilate.
Okay.
The big popper I'll use if it's a little windy, but this baby popper, it's just really subtle. I think they think it's a bug or something. But these are the 2 baits that I use 90 to 95% of the time. Precious, I'll get it. Precious, which is a live target. The little teeny one, I think it's a 45 in yellow black. I don't do anything with the legs. They come perfect. And the hooks are perfect too. I'm not sponsored by Live Target, but the hooks kind of, if you look at this Spro, right? If you take it out of the package, the hooks, let me see, the hooks are like that, right? They're a little dug in. On that Live Target, they're just up a couple of degrees,
Yep.
and it makes a difference. Now, some people cut the legs short, but I normally don't have to. For some reason, I just get a good pop on my frog, and I've never had to cut the legs, ever. I don't cut one longer, one shorter, right out of the box. Normally what happens is I get so many fish that the legs kind of, see how they're all starting to tear up?
Yep.
They just beat the heck out of it. The one thing that I did use a Live Target popper. The one thing that I'd love Live Target to do is make the front of their frog different, because it cracks all the time because the fish just tear it up.
Yep.
So what I do is I put 65 or 50-pound braid on here and tie it so so I can use it some more.
Okay.
Because it just splits. That's the one thing. And then I have a whole bunch of legs that sometimes it splits so bad I have legs left over, so I retrofit the legs, and then sometimes the split is good but the legs are bad, so I kind of, instead of having to start all over, I kind of retrofit these frogs. But that's it right there. That's the baby. Yep. And I like the small ones. I mean, sometimes they do a big one, but 95% of the time I use this small one, and it will be in the roof of the mouth of the fish 99% of the time.
Oh, wow.
It's not on the side. It's 99% of the time. It's in the back of the mouth in the roof.
Yep.
And that's pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
So I've tried other frogs. I just have really good. Sorry, I got a phone.
You good?
You're good. Take your time.
I am. But so anyway, that's.
Uh-oh.
We lost her.
Uh-oh, she'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to some of these questions in a minute.
Yep.
When she gets back on. So I think she solved my problem in the first 20 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I like where she's setting the hook across the body. Now, I always just straight back, so that cross, there she is.
Yep.
There she is.
There you are.
Yeah, you push one button and.
Yep, we know.
That's okay. Pam Horn wants to know, do you find out that a certain cadence works better than the rest, or is it just trial and error?
Well, I have a certain cadence, and it's because I usually, it's the same cadence as a Zaraspook. And somebody in a tournament one time, they sang this churchy song. I forget what it is, but it's just one of these numbers, and you just find a song that works for you, and you want a little bit of pop on the legs, right? So I kind of twitch, I'll stop it, twitch, I'll stop it. But at Gunnersville this last time, when I went out with a friend of mine, he was running it real fast, and he was using a popper frog. He was using a Spro popper frog and popping it really fast across the grass and that, because he was wanting a reaction strike. And it was working the beginning of the week, but the end of the week, it was not working. And really, the Live Target frog, when Secret waxed my butt, she was just, an easy cadence, almost stopping it every once in a while. And, so cadence does matter, but I think just a rhythmic, like a twitch, stop, twitch, stop, twitch, stop, works for this small frog. If I was using a different frog, like a top toad across the grass, I'm throwing that thing out, and I don't have a top toad here. It's a rivet top toad. It floats.
Yep.
I'm reeling that as fast as I can, because no matter how fast you move a frog, a fish can catch it faster. So on like something like that, or a rivet, just a regular rivet or a top toad, I'm moving that usually as fast as I can. Yeah. And I get good hookups with that. But this is just a whatever cadence is your comfortable position. I'm just, if I can twitch and get the little legs to flop a little bit, and splatter like a Xerospoop, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. We covered rod and line. Scott Callan wants to know, do you soak your frogs in warm water prior to using them?
I do nothing. I take it right out of this package and tie it on to 50-pound braid. Here's what I use. And I'm not sponsored by them either, but I've found this to work well, and it can even turn white. I don't care. It doesn't break. And then when the end of the season, or at least halfway through the season, I'll spool it onto a different reel.
Yep.
And then I use the back half of it.
Yep.
There it is. That's what I use 100% of the time on my 50-pound or 65-pound right there.
Good stuff. That's some top-notch stuff.
I mean, I've used some other stuff, and it just I've had it break, and I don't get too many bird's nests. Even if I screw something up, I can get the bird's nest out of this. The wax leaves on this, the tackiness leaves on the line, but I can get braid out of a bird's nest braid out better than I can mono, or not mono, but line or a fluoro.
Yeah. Scott says the rivet top toad is our top toad bait.
Yep, that's good.
It's a good bait. The one color I like in the rivet or the top toad is the normal. It's got like a pearl on the bottom and a green on the top. I mean, it looks like a frog.
Yep. So
I stay with that. But if I'm using like what is it, like I want to say a horny toad. If I'm using a horny toad, because sometimes I'll try that. I have got a couple of different things. If these aren't working, I'll try something else. But a horny toad, I use black, white, or gray.
That gray, I like that gray. I've used that gray before, and it really works well.
Now, there's usually, the only reason I use this one right here, this yellow one, I mean, you can use the green one. I do have black and blue. I got the brown. I got every color in this, but this is my favorite. And the reason is, if I'm fishing this in the morning, I can see it.
Yep.
The white's still the same on the bottom, but I can see this thing really well. So if you don't get a blow up, but you get a slurp, I got you.
Yep.
Because
So we've talked about the rod and the line. What about reel?
Any top end, and I'm really hard on equipment, but any top end loose reel with a good gear ratio, 7 something and above, is good. I have some Corrados. They don't last. I have not for frog fishing. They don't. I've had some Abus. They don't last for frog fishing. I have some Stees reels. They don't last. The worm gear, all the worm gears tear out of them for frog fishing. So the ones that hold up the best are higher end lose. Anything over like 250, most of their high end, their tournament series reels work for me. Now I do clean them every year. I make sure the worm gears are working well. If I have to take them apart and repair them, I do. But for the most part, I usually don't have to repair a loose reel for a couple of years. Because I repair my own reels. I used to be a helicopter mechanic, and there's only 3 main parts, main kind of gears in that reel. So as long as you take it apart and get the schematics and understand what you're doing, it's almost easier to fix it yourself. And if you really screw it up, you can send them back to the factory, and they'll lose anybody, Fluger, any of them will, Shimano, they'll all fix them for you. I got a whole bunch of reels over here waiting on parts. COVID went ahead and backed up parts.
Yep.
And so I just have a whole bunch of, I cannibalized one to fix another, so I cannibalized a couple of mine to help some friends out with some of their reels. But the loos are pretty, a lot of their parts are interchangeable too. Like, just because the reels are or the handles and that look a little different, they're interchangeable. So,
sounds like a true aviation mechanic. Rob London.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
There's nothing to them if you have any kind of maintenance type of, if you can fix things, if you fix lawnmowers or if you fix anything, you can take that apart and clean it every year. And then if there's a piece missing, normally when you open it up, you can tell which piece is missing. Either it's galled or it's rusted or it's chewed up or it's missing or it's broken. So, okay, you look at the schematic, and usually any company you have will send a schematic if you have the part number to it, the part number usually on the bottom or the side. They'll send you the parts. So what's the worst thing? You screw it up and you send it back. So.
Yep.
Parking Rubers is on saying, "Hey, hello, sir," and he's sorry he's late. That's okay. Just go back and watch the replay. I know you will. Oh, so I want to go back to the rod because it seems to me like, when you were gone for a minute there, Rob, I told Rob within the first 5 minutes of the show, you probably cured my dislike for frog fishing because of my lack of hookups.
Okay.
And I think one of the things I was doing on Gunnersville was casting too far. Okay.
Yep.
And another one is I had the wrong rod.
Yep.
You had a medium heavy rod and you were trying to throw it over 100 and something feet.
Trying or successfully throwing over 100 and something feet.
I'm just trying.
Right. But yes, you are right.
So yes, a medium heavy rod for me doesn't work because it doesn't have enough backbone to set the hook. So even if you caught that fish, it came off usually within 10 feet of the boat.
Yep.
Because not getting the hook in the roof of the mouth. And it's because of, don't take this the wrong way. If people are 5, I'm going to say 5, 7 and shorter, and you have a medium heavy rod and you're throwing it that far, there's just not, the physics just isn't there to set that hook. Even if you have a long rod, you better have it's got to be almost a broomstick for you to get that, that pop that you need in that line that far out. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but I mean, I have a couple of rods that I miss them that far out. If it's not this rod, my other frog rods, if it ain't this one, I can miss them that far out. And like I said, that stock, when you hold your rod, let me see if I can not break this tip. Do you hold that rod so that it's underneath your arm?
No.
Okay. Why not? Is the butt not long enough? And
comfort?
And do you hold the reel? And it's an ergonomic reel. Do you hold the reel?
I do hold it like that, but I have the rod between, or the butt between my wrist and my armpit.
Oh, wrist, armpit. No.
It's. Let me see if I can get a rod. I'll show you.
Armpit.
All right.
It's got to be. I have left-handed reels.
Yep.
So I'm using.
That's probably why.
Well, no, it's just backwards than everybody. It's backwards for most right-handers because they're taught to bait cast right-handed. But when I was young, I did spin casting with left hand. So my brain just was, it was easier for me to just stay left-handed. So
now I just grabbed any rod out from up
Okay.
top. And usually when I'm fishing, like to move it, I'm going like this.
No.
So it's open.
Yeah, you need to relax your arm. You need to there and get it so it's 100% sitting on your arm and your wrist is still moving it. I might get away from this thing for a while or the phone. No, yeah. And you're bringing it towards the opposite, whatever way, if you're if you're holding in your right hand, you're usually twitching to your left.
Yep.
So if you're left-handed, you're twitching to the right. In which case,
so you're not twitching straight down. You're going at an
no,
angle.
no. It's always it's straight down. You'll never be able to set the hook.
Yep.
But so if you're twitching, right? If you're twitching, I'm going to twitch to the left because I'm holding my rod in my right hand.
Sure.
I wish I have a broken. Oh wait a minute! I have a couple of broken butts here. Wait a minute.
Mine's not broken. It just has a crack in it. Anyways,
I've broken a lot of rods. So this one's at least not going to hit it's not going to hit the ceiling. So when I'm twitching, right? When I'm twitching the rod, I've got that underneath. This is a wrong rod, but I've got it underneath my arm. So when I set that hook, if I get a bite, twitch, boom, I'm bringing that up to across my chest on the opposite side of what I'm twitching. So that would be this way.
Crossbody. Yeah.
But you're almost hitting yourself in the head, but you're not. That you'll take your teeth out. But you're bringing that right. It's underneath your arm. Find a comfortable spot. Really, when you're standing, you're like this, right? You're not up here. Find a spot, and if it goes in the water, who cares? Just find that spot, and when you get that bite, you're gonna bend your knees, set that hook, and start reeling. And I guarantee you, if you set that hook across your chest, and now your rod, I can't do it because
that's okay.
Your rod is here, right? It's there. It's not going nowhere. You can push all you want on this rod. It's not going anywhere. But when you have it and you have it on your armpit, your rod is doing this number. Yep. You've just lost that frog.
Yep.
So you lock it into your arm. You lock it in basically.
Yeah, you lock it in. You have it. Yeah, you should hardly ever have any bruises on your chest. I've never had any bruise on my arm because it's not really hitting your arm. It's already there. And you're using your arm as an extension of that rod, and it's all one piece. It's like you had it Velcroed in two places.
Yep.
You're twitching your wrist. You're not moving your whole arm. You're just twitching your wrist to get that pop. And when you get that bite, if you bend your knees, because I know you're a little shorter in stature, if you bend your knees and lift up and snap that rod as hard as you can across your chest, just snap it and reel and lift and then stand up straight and start walking back, you'll get more frogfish. Because that, like I said earlier, when you bend your knees, you're getting 5 or 6 more inches. So it's like 5 or 6 more inches on that rod. Okay. Right? Even if you have a 7-foot frog, now you got a 7.6. And then when you snap it against your chest and it doesn't go back down, that hook is going straight up in the top of that frog's mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, driving it in.
Driving it in, right. Driving it in. Now, there's sometimes they go up, they miss it. That's where you got to stop. You come back down, then you set it. Every I've had that happen where they missed it. You go, oh my God. You're ready to set the hook. They miss it and they go back down and they hit it. And now you feel the pull. Now you can really set it.
Oh, yeah.
Now you really set into them.
I'm with you, Barking Rugers. His comment is, I need a hug, a few prayers, and a fishing trip with this fine lady.
Hey, if you're in the Hot Springs area, come on out. I can't guarantee you to be hitting a frog, but if I can get them to hit it, I'll show you how to do it. I mean, anywhere that I go in the country, I don't mind showing people how to frog fish. In fact, I'll be up in Missouri. I'll be at Lake of the Ozarks in September, and I'll be at Pomme de Terre in October. And And I guarantee you I'll be using a frog on both of those lakes. And there's no vegetation on either one of them.
And you'll be at Grand Lake in October, too.
Huh?
You'll be at Grand Lake in October?
And I'll be at Grand Lake in October, and I'm hoping there's a frog bite then. I have never been on Grand Lake. I'd love to get there beforehand, but I have got too much commitment elsewhere and family matters and everything. I just couldn't get there this year early. I wanted to go a couple days. So I'm going to be flying in blind. And but if I can, a lot of people that I fish with, they say I always kind of find a spot and a spot and a spot. Like if I can find something that works, I go all over the lake and try and find that instead of an area.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say, okay, the furthest point, if I was looking down in the docks, I'll hit the furthest one that's sticking out. And if I can go ahead and get a fish off that on a frog, I'll try every single dock that's sticking out. And most of the time that'll work. Or they're in the back corner, or they're underneath the walkways. That's normally, if I can find a spot where I'm pretty confident that's where they're at. If they're right at the grass edge, if there is grass, that's how I basically fish. I'm not an area person. I find something and then make it work all over the place.
Yep. We've had a couple comments up here. Scott Callan thinks it's funny that I'm a northern smallmouth guy and I'm trying to give fish frog advice. Well, I'm trying to learn. I'm not giving advice. The only thing I can tell you about frog fishing is they don't work on Guntersville for me.
Yeah, Guntersville is where I learned, and like I said, I had a hard time at Guntersville this time because I did try Precious in the beginning. I couldn't get her to work, but once I saw what Secret was doing, it was game on. They changed. The water got hotter and hotter, and they wanted a little bit more finesse.
Yep.
And with the small live target that I use, it was just a perfect setup, and the hydrilla was just up enough. It wasn't laying on the top of the water, but it came up, and it was clumps. You could see holes in the clumps, and it was like a 2 mile area. I never was at the shoreline. I was offshore the whole time, and what I would do is I would look for those hydrilla splotches because it was high, it was high sun all day. And then I throw it past the hydrilla clumps and just bring it through and kind of just twitch it just enough, or just stop or twitch it. And they'd blow up on it. Same thing with Secret in the morning. I mean, we didn't know, but we were hitting those hydrilla splotches, they were about the size of a car.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's where the fish were. And it was loaded. I knew in practice, I found it Wednesday, the day before practice, and I went out in the morning and I caught 3. I had 3 blow-ups. I missed one because I didn't think anything was going to bite. I got one, and then one was short, but I got 3 blow-ups in less than a half an hour, and I didn't have to fish anymore. I just kind of ran around there and looked what there was, but I didn't run the 2 mile stretch that I did on Friday, the last day of the tournament, because I wasn't leaving that area. I was going to expand on that area and just there was hundreds of fish in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Scott Callan makes a point for co-anglers. If you're in the back of the boat, it's going to be tough. If they have power poles, you'll have to be able to fish right or left-handed.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah. I hate power poles, and the boat that I have now has them. And I detest power poles as a co-angler because I've had people break rods. I've almost broken my rod when I've co-angled with I've done a couple of Mr. Bass Arkansas with power poles, and I detest them. Sometimes what you can do as a co-angler, if the water is deep enough, is you can ask your boater to put those power poles down.
Good point.
Some people will, some people won't, but if you ask nicely, sometimes they will. Sometimes.
Harwood wants to know, do you have a favorite frog color and body or popping?
Yep.
That's it right there.
I've won, and I haven't won a lot, but I've probably won over $15,000, which for me is pretty good. Just my best was, that's not bad for just tournament fishing with this guy. And then if I need to be more subtle, or they're not taking the regular live target 45 yellow black, sometimes if the water's a little muddy, I might go with the white one. Or if it's dark and I want darker, I might go with the black and blue. But 95% of the time, I'm going to start with this. And you can use the green one. It's the same as this. It's just that I can see this better than the green one. Green one's exactly the same. What I also like is the legs are black and yellow. So it's a really good, I know this one's kind of shot, but it's a really good contrast. And if you notice if I need a popping frog, I'll go with Spro. It's black and yellow, but you see the legs, they're black and yellow, same as this live target. For some reason, the black and yellow, I think mirrors, it's a little bit more yellow than black, but they're both the same.
Yep.
It's just a good contrast, and I think it mirrors a bluegill or something. I don't know, but I don't cut the legs or anything. It's just I can get them it's to me the perfect color. The green one that live target has is green and yellow, and it just doesn't have the contrast. And if they don't hit that, I usually do a white one, see if they'll hit white. Sometimes it's just a color change that they want. It's amazingly a color change that they want, which is crazy, but I've had it happen.
Makes sense.
I mean, they're looking up, and if you look at the bottom of the live target, it's white, right? So I usually try to stay with a white bottom, but then if that don't work, and I need a little bit more finesse, well, not finesse, but I need a little bit more splash, I'll just take them out of the package. And I go with the black.
Yep.
And that's usually the two colors you need is a white bottom or a black bottom. It's got a little, this to me is a bluegill.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not a frog, it's a bluegill. And a top toad, somebody showed me a couple of years ago, because I was trying to get a frog to work on Washita here, and I was new to the area. I just retired about 6 or 7 years ago. And I said, there's no frog bite on Washita. He goes, yes, we are. So he brought me out, and that top toad, we used that, ran it as fast as we could, and had some really good blow-ups. Every month from, April, May, through October, there's a bluegill spawn, a crawdad spawn, but the bluegill spawn, that's when this is a good substitute, because it looks like a bluegill. So
absolutely.
A frog bite should be better with a full moon, right? Every full moon is a bluegill spawn. So I don't care where you are, there should be a bluegill spawn wherever you are, whether you're up north or not. Down south, the bluegill and the crawdads are spawning. So,
Angie Scott wants you to talk a little bit more about the timing on the hook set. Is it immediate?
No, it's not. Like I said, for most people, if you don't frog fish a lot, you want to bend your knees. And bending of the knees will take you 1 to 3 seconds to bend your knees, right? Bend them just a little bit, right? When you're bend them, just crouch a little bit. And when you set that hook, there's 1-2 seconds right there.
Yep. Good point.
Right. And that will give you a better fulcrum, the physics thing. It'll give you a better hook set because you've got 5 or 6 more inches that you're setting with your hook. But yeah, you usually people say, wait till you feel the pull. That's true. But if you wait too long, they're going to pull it and spit it out.
Yep.
So by bending your knees, it's it is a timing thing, and sometimes, like I said, they jump over, in which case you don't want to set it at all. You have to be looking. You're looking at that blow up, and if they don't, if they jump over it, wait. Just try and wait as best you can, and sometimes they land on top, and I guarantee you can feel that pull, and then you can set them. You can set it real well. You don't have to bend your knees or anything. You can, because you'll get a better hook set. But usually it's for me, it's instantaneous, because I already know what fish are doing, so it looks instantaneous, but I'm waiting a couple seconds. I'm not waiting for the pull. It's a timing thing for me that it's kind of, I've done it so long that, and also sometimes they don't blow on it. Sometimes they slurp it or they push it. Sometimes they're not even going to take it. They're pushing it. And when they push it, you actually have to set it a little bit different. You don't really want to set it hard. It's kind of more of it's almost like a Carolina sweep, but it's not a Carolina sweep. It's an up sweep, but it's not a sideways sweep. If they're kind of just slapping at it, they're kind of, and those are real hard to catch. So, but that takes a lot of time to figure that out. If they're slapping it, or they're slurping it, or they're actually just taking it. You want them to take it. That's the way a frogfish. Those are those exciting. You see them coming out and just blowing up on your frog. And when they come out of lily pads in it, it's even better. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can also, let's say they're, you are in grass and that kind of stuff, or lily pads and that, and they're not taking this kind of frog or a popping frog. What I'll do, and somebody showed me this a long time ago when I was fishing Mr. Bass. He was a pretty good frog fisherman. There is it's a paddle tail worm. I don't have it with me, but you can use a cut tail worm too. Take a cut tail worm, or even just a speed worm, with the big old fat tail on it, and take you a what is it? A paper puncher, a hole puncher.
Yeah.
And then cut into that tail, so it makes it like that tail will have a hole, and then it will start to flutter if you reel it real quick across the grass mat. And that is a very finessey type of frog fishing. I know it's not a frog, but it's the same kind of thing. You're going to get the same reaction.
Absolutely.
Like if you use a cut worm, if you don't have the paper puncher, or you don't have the speed worm. If you have a cut tail worm, same thing. If you can, don't put, but like a 1/16 ounce or nothing on it. If it's a 7 or 8 inch cut tail, throw it across that stuff and reel it real quick, and that tail will vibrate to the point you get that reaction.
All right.
Good tip.
Wow. Barking Ruger says, Scott, when are we going double Dutch rudder on the boat? I tend to lean on my 6.6 medium heavy because they're so short you can work in close quarters. I don't know.
He's in the jungle though. He's in the jungle down there.
Yeah.
Is that frog fishing? 6.6 to me is too short. You don't have enough. I mean, you just don't have enough physics there to set a hook. You can, but like I said, I wouldn't fish anything less than a 6'10", 7 foot, and I don't care how much jungle it is. Put it more in the water. Have it slap in the water more. And I used to fish out of an Arkansas Traveler when I was up Missouri. I had a little lake by my house, and I would sit down. So I know, and I used to use this rod, this 7 foot rod on that Arkansas Traveler. It's almost sitting in a kayak, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't care what kind of. I mean, if you can use a 6.6, you can use a 7. And the 7 will give you it'll give you a little bit more thrust to set that hook.
Scott Harwood says, thank you very much. Great tips.
Sure. I mean, anytime, if you guys, I am on Facebook. If you have any questions or if you're in Hot Springs or just want to know where I'm fishing or what, if a frog bite is working, send me a, get on Facebook and send me something. I'll let you know if it's working or not and what I'm doing and where I'm at. I'm hoping that Pommy, I usually use a Spro popper on Pommy, Pomme de Terre. and it's all rock. You know, if you're using if you're using a jig, or if you're using a top water around structure, not in, I usually don't use a frog in open water. You can, but I don't. But if I'm on a point where I'm using like a sexy dog or anything like that, you know, walking bait, and you can use a frog, and it's the same kind of thing. They'll hit it.
Yep.
You don't need grass.
Barking Ruger says, Linda, I have a live target bluegill soft body that I bought years ago. That's a lot heavier than most frogs. When I really need to make a long cast, I tie that on and let it fly.
Yeah, you can. Definitely. I like the small ones. I have a couple of, you know, if I need to really get it out there, I'll throw a bigger one. But normally what I'll try and do is I'll put a life vest underneath my trolling motor. I don't know if that works for the Ultrex anymore because you have to have it down the water, but I used to have a Fortrex, and I'd put a life preserver underneath my trolling motor. It's a southern way of getting shallower in the water, and I had a boat that crafted 11 inches.
Wow.
Put your up, and I would push mud around before I went to a bigger frog, and I could usually get pretty shallow, you know. So sometimes you just have to lighten the load and get a little. Because sometimes they don't want that big frog. I mean, I've tried all different. Believe me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've tried different frogs, different size frogs, you know, different cadences, different. I've had a couple of different rods. I do like a Denali, Denali frog rod. I've used those before on my Arkansas Traveler when I was up in Missouri, and I liked it. It set the hook really well at a low angle. Sometimes that low angle is really nice on those, you know, on a frog rod, because it isn't. You have to use it a little bit different, but that angle of setting that hook when that rod tips way up there is pretty good. If you can, you know, just have to snap it really hard against your chest, and don't let it come back down.
Gotcha.
Heather Broom says, "You go, Linda. I think I had 2 blowups on frog at Gville. Love listening to your frog advice."
Yeah.
And just to let you know, Heather, she's on next Monday. She'll be on talking to us.
Absolutely.
I'll be flying to Alaska.
Oh, nice.
All right. Scott Callan says, there we go. Denali staff, pro staff there. Here. He's on the Denali pro staff.
Yeah, I used that rod. It was a good rod. They had a frog rod that was, I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. I think I could probably go on for another hour or so with this, but we're almost 53 minutes in, and we want to I want to let you talk about your sponsors and stuff, people that have helped you along the way. You know, this has been a great show so far.
Absolutely.
Well, none of my frog stuff I'm sponsored with. When I do use my plastics and that, I go ahead and I use Liquid Mayhem on a lot of my crankbaits and plastics, and I do believe it's helped me this year. And I usually use the garlic crawdad, sometimes the shad, but 90% of the time garlic crawdad. And then I'm sponsored with Mercury, and they've been the best sponsor I've had for my life of fishing. The engines work great. They've helped me out a lot. We used to have some help when we had engine problems when we were doing the WBT a long time ago. But and then my maintenance guys, H2O over in North Little Rock, you know, when I had problems with my Legend and my Mercury engines and that, they would get me in and out. I mean, they are a great organization. The mechanic there for Mercury is you know, he's top notch in Arkansas as far as you know, fixing Mercuries and getting you back on the water. I can't express enough what they did for me when my Mercury on my Legend would it had a whole bunch of hours on it. So I mean, it probably had over 500 or 600 hours on it. And
oh wow.
But they kept me going, and the Mercury I have now is a 4-stroke, and I haven't had any problems with it. So I'm pretty happy with that. It gets me where I'm going. So other than that, I mean, I've got a couple other sponsors, but those are the 2 that I really appreciate.
Well, thank you very much for everything, Linda. This has been a great show. It's one that I'll watch over and over again. And what I might do is just take this off our Facebook and YouTube channels and just leave it for me.
Oh,
Well, the thing is, if you guys are in Hot Springs, or if you're anywhere that I'm at, if you're going to somewhere, in the country, that you just ask me where I'm at, and if I'm around, I'll bring you out. I'll show you what we're doing, and see if we can get a frog bite going. Anybody,
awesome.
You're welcome. It doesn't, I love it. I mean, it's my thing. So if I have, if I can show somebody, and I've shown several folks on the tour and they have I know one person I went ahead and showed, and we were fishing a local club tournament, and they did the same thing I was doing on day one, and then on day two I accidentally went to their water, and they went to new water, so I did not come in first that day, because a thing with frog fishing is you can't go back and back and back to the same place every single day unless there's lots and lots of fish there. If you're fishing a shoreline, you better have a lot of shoreline and don't go back to the same spots, because they don't load like other places. If you take that fish out, they're gone. It's not like somebody comes in right away sometimes, but you'll get less and less and less fish. You have got to have lots of places to do your, unless it's a point that reloads. Anyway, but I don't mind showing people. It doesn't matter to me if I win or lose. I just like frog fishing. So, if I can show, I'm good.
I do have one more question for you. Do you ever frog fish for smallmouth?
I have caught smallmouth on a frog. I caught Kentucky Lake. I've caught smallmouth in less than 2 foot on a frog.
Wow.
Kentucky Lake is it doesn't matter. Smallmouth with a frog.
Yeah.
They eat bluegill, don't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, if they're shallow and you're throwing a jig into a tree, because I usually don't fish grass, so I fish rock and trees and shade and points and cuts and all that kind of stuff. Anytime you use a jig, or anytime you're using a worm or Texas rig throwing in somewhere, I'll throw a frog first and see if I can get them to blow up, because they think it's a bluegill, or they think it's some kind of bug on the water. And to me, it's just, they're going to go keep it on the down low. They're just going to slurp that up and move on. So, but smallmouth, Kentucky's, largemouth, it doesn't matter. I've caught them all on it.
All right. Mm-hmm. Scott Callan says, great show, tons of great tips. And Steve French says, great show. Thank you, Linda.
Absolutely.
Anytime, guys.
I want to say thank you to Steve and the rest, and Travis and the rest of the LBA crew for partnering with us for the women's show. By far, it's been our most viewed shows, not only on Facebook, but on YouTube, as well as the American Outdoor Angler Network Co-Angler Corner channel.
Well, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. I love it. I love talking about frog fishing, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Better yet, I love frog fishing. So
there you go. All right, Linda. Well, thank you very much. Take care. Relax a little bit before your hectic 3 weeks.
and a quick thing, I noticed next year's schedule, what is Toho? There's some perfect frog lakes for you next year on tour, I noticed.
That's too far. It sounds great, but there's no way I can pull my boat that far. That's unless somebody wants to sponsor me, but I for the last 20 years have spent, I'll say, $1,000 a tournament. So this is a large expense. And I have to go ahead and make decisions, because I'm getting to the point where I need to save instead of spend. But that is too far for me, and good luck with, that. But if there's something local around here, I might fish Caddo next year, but this is I'm one of those, I think I'm going to be going out on top since I won the Classic this year.
Absolutely.
Might fish one or two next year, but I can't do the season. And Toho is just too far away from me, unless I can get sponsor me. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do Toho, but I'm not going as a co-angler. I can't do co-angling. I've played that game, and my emotional brain doesn't work for co-angling. I am very impressed with the co-anglers that can go out there and do it, but it's not for me. So
yeah, but you've had a great season, and congrats on a great season this year. I mean, you've had a really good season, and hats off to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm hoping to do good on Grand. We'll see if we can. Me and Secret can do a double take, but we'll see what we can do.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is definitely one of the shows that I know it's going to be watched a lot, because it's one of the hardest things to do in tournament fishing, I think, is consistently catch fish on a frog.
Absolutely.
Well, find me where I'm at, and I'll show you what I'm doing, and we'll see if we can get a little bit of instruction to make that work better for you.
All right. Appreciate it, Linda.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
I see you. All righty.
Wow.
That was a ton of juice, folks, right there. John, I hope you filled up a whole page on your notebook there.
I quit.
John's going to be throwing a frog this year. I can see it already.
Oh, I'm October. Well, maybe the first week of December. Ice fishing.
I see a frog in my future coming this weekend. I know some places I'm going to bring it out. So she has inspired me. So thank you, Linda.
Yes. And thank you, everybody, for such great comments. Rob and I've got something to share with you guys, because most of you guys on here now are dedicated, loyal listeners. We're rolling out a new show. The channel's all set up on the American Angler Outdoor Network, and it's all set up on YouTube. It's going to be a paid network, a paid show. We're going to have 2 to 5 guests on each show. It's going to be on a Saturday from like 6 to 8, 6 to 9, whatever. We're going to try to answer all the questions. We're going to have some pros on and talk to you about different things, anywhere from marketing to techniques to sponsorships. We've got a couple guys, and we're going to stay with our same theme. We're going to try to have a woman angler. We're going to try to have a co-angler, whether it be Rob or I or someone else. And we're also going to be having someone in the industry talk about that, someone like Eddie Carper. He's going to be on. The first show is in a couple weeks. I think it's the 24th of August. Eddie Carper is going to be on. I'm going to be on talk, and I can't remember who else. Or is going to be on talking about pre-tournament preparation.
That's huge. And
a lot of times, if you talk to some of the great pros, they're going to be coming on, they say a lot of the tournaments are won before they get to the water.
Absolutely.
But Rob and I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I don't know what we're going to do for the rest of the year, because I don't know if we're going to come up with a show that's going to beat this.
I know. And Linda says, sounds great. Hey, Linda, you always, every time we have you on the show, you like bring it next level. So we really, really do appreciate you. And it's really good seeing you at Gunnersville, and good seeing you bring that title home. So well done. And congrats to you again.
Yes. And I forgot to mention that she's the LBAA Professional Angler of the Year.
Yep. Well deserved.
Well deserved. All right. Anything else you want to say, sir?
No, I see it. And guys, I got a little surprise today. I got actually a kayak. So I'm going to be doing a little kayak. I'm going to try to share some tips and stuff I'm learning. I'm still kind of learning and improving and, learning it. And so I'm going to try to share some kayak tips, especially, me just starting out. I've had some good guys give me some good advice, and got a real good deal on one. And I'll hit the water and share some tips, but I've really enjoyed it. I've rented some kayaks the last few weekends and really, really enjoyed it. So, like Roy Widgeon says from Kayak Magazine, it's like out riding a motorcycle, and that's the best comparison I've heard. It is. So, but hope, well, I said we appreciate everybody tuning in, sharing and liking, and said go back. You can go back and replay this on YouTube, and plenty of good tips. Or Roku.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention as far as the other programming, the VIP in-depth programming we have once a month. If you as a subscriber, we're going to have a giveaway.
Yep.
And maybe a tackle, maybe rod, maybe a reel, sunglasses or something. We're not going to just give out like a pack of hooks.
Yep.
We're gonna make it worth your while because we want to let you know we appreciate you guys supporting us in our endeavor and going on. So
absolutely.
I got one piece of advice for you as far as the kayak.
Oh, what's that?
Just as because you're learning.
Yep.
I wouldn't suggest wearing an inflatable life vest.
No, I got a regular. I got two regulars. Don't worry. I done been on that road. Hey, but funny story. I think I forwarded to you earlier. Somebody found an alligator in like Lake Michigan, so don't go swimming in Lake Michigan no time soon.
I hear you. Trust me, I don't.
Maybe Barking Rugers dropped off one of his pets up there. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Could have. I don't know. I guess they found alligator in some of the waters up here. What they do is they get them as pets, and when they get so big, they let them go.
Yeah, they found one right above Norris Lake, north of Knoxville, and it was like cold water. So they must have found him within a day or two. Somebody released him. So it's crazy.
No, everybody, thank you very much. We appreciate it for tuning in. And tomorrow we have worm fishing. Guy coming on talking to Nate Dame is actually going to be talking to us about how he fishes a worm down in Florida. So he fishes a lot of worms. So
yeah, and more fish have been caught with plastic worms probably than anything else. So definitely tune in.
All right, folks. Well, you take care. Have a safe night, and hope to see you tomorrow.
And peace out.